everyone. I'm Dave Despain. On this edition of the Glory Days, we recall the deciding round of the 1967 Canadian-American Championship, the Can-Am. It was second only to Grand Prix racing in terms of international prestige. Bruce McLaren was here to prove his reputation as a driver and a car builder. He was later killed testing a new Can-Am design. John Surtees was the reigning Can-Am champion, and ABC was there to see if newly crowned world driving champ Dennis Hulme could take that title away. Jim McKay called it. Former world champ Phil Hill was the analyst, and here's your pit reporter, Chris Economaki of National Speed Sport News.
The field for the Times Grand Prix is an impressive one. 39 cars will take the flag, and the first 16 of which have cracked the old qualifying record. Pace setter in the time trials was Dan Gurney, a favorite son here in California, with a record 118.7-mile-an-hour lap. The engine in his Lola, a Ford. And there are three other Ford drivers in the race: Indianapolis winner Parnelli Jones, USAC champion Mario Andretti, and California great Jerry Titus. And they're up against a field that has 30 Chevrolet-powered cars, 2 Ferraris, 2 Oldsmobiles, and a lone Repco. It's going to be an interesting race.
Here is Bruce McLaren, a 9-year veteran of Grand Prix driving, winner of Le Mans and Sebring in Pass. This is Jim Hall of Midland, Texas, the 1964 United States road racing champion, in his wing chaparral again today. Roger Penske on the right is the team manager, and one of the cars he'll be managing is driven by Mark Donahue, the young fella in the center, the current United States road racing champion for 1967. This is Mike Spence, who's driven in the past as a partner of Phil Hill. Here, John Surtees, the former world champion, the winner last year of this race and of the Canadian-American Championship. So here are the cars on the starting grid. However, it will not be a Grand Prix type standing start this year. They're going to be rolling when they take the green flag. Does that make very much difference, Phil?
Not a lot. They seem to vary it from one year to the next year at Riverside. Rolling start, standing start, rolling start. One year they even had a helicopter crash on the line just before the start of the race.
And another year delay after the engines were running. I remember quite a controversy because a lot of the cars were starting to overheat. However, here's this field of 39 magnificent racing machines. That's Dan Gurney on the pole, the fastest qualifier, but he'll get plenty of competition if form holds true from the 2 orange cars. That's Bruce McLaren next to him, and here is his teammate Dennis Hulme in the second row, alongside Jim Hall from Midland, Texas, in the wing chaparral. This is the field, as you can see. It's a tremendous number of cars as they begin to move out from the pit area. They'll go all the way around, and if they are in good order, when they reach the starting line again, they will get the green flag, and the race will be underway. The car's in good order right now, Phil. It looks like there's McLaren in the orange car on the inside, Gurney right alongside him. In the second row, the wing car of Jim Hall. And that's it. It's a good start. The green flag out, and Gurney taking the lead very quickly going into turn 1, moving it up just a little bit on Bruce McLaren in second place. Jim Hall is third. Parnelli Jones has jumped up a row into fourth place. Behind him, Dennis Hulme and Mario Andretti. Good-looking start, Phil.
Beautiful start. You know, they were really lined up nicely. Here they come through the heading towards turn 6 now. Gurney's still in the lead.
Gurney, by the way, racing very near his own home. He has never won this race, and of all the races in the world that he hasn't, he'd sure like to get this one.
Sure he would.
He has, on the other hand, won a stock car race that they have over the same course a little bit later in the season, 4 or 5 times. Right now, however, it's the Los Angeles Times Grand Prix, 200 miles, 62 laps of the course. Gurney's still the leader, McLaren in second position, and Jim Hall third.
Heading into turn 8 now. That ever-tightening turn that ends up in that little hook and then onto the long, long, fast straightaway.
A straightaway will be hitting what, the fastest cars?
Oh, 185, 190 miles an hour.
Look what happened there. Parnelli Jones hit one of those tires in the infield, Phil.
Yeah, it looks like another car collected it, too. One right behind him. Let's see, who would that be?
Was it the other orange car, Denny Hulme, perhaps?
Yeah, looks like he's... There he is. He's slowing down a little bit. Andretti has passed him.
That's right. Dennis Hulme slowing down after the tire flew through the air and apparently hit his car. Dan Gurney still the leader. Bruce McLaren is second and Jim Hall third, and we'll be back in a minute at Riverside. We're back at the Los Angeles Times Grand Prix in Riverside, California. This is Jim McKay reporting along with former world champion Phil Hill. There is Bruce McLaren in second place at the moment behind the car of Dan Gurney, but how close they are. In third place is the chaparral of Jim Hall, then Parnelli Jones, then Mario Andretti. A couple of Indianapolis drivers right up in the fight here along with these sports car champions.
Denny Holm looked like he was dropping back a little while ago after that tire incident, but he seems to be keeping right up there now.
Yes, Holm in, let's see, 6th position at the moment, I think, behind Jones and Andretti.
Here they go into 8 and out again now, down the straight.
Gurney still out in front, McLaren 2nd, and Jim Hall is 3rd. And now there's Bruce McLaren taking the lead.
And look at Parnelli Jones getting a whole bunch of them. He's come from 3rd place right on up past McLaren and everything going into turn 9. He is now in the lead.
Well, I think Bruce was a little bit surprised. He had just taken the lead himself, and instantaneously, Jones burst past him. Look at this.
Grief, look at the power that Parnelli Jones has. You wouldn't believe it at the end of that straight, that little short straight there leading into 1.
As a matter of fact, Chris talked to him about that before the race.
Well, Parnelli, the Indy engine, is it better suited to the Riverside circuit than other sports car courses?
Well, we're having a bit of a problem with it, Chris. It doesn't quite have the torque of some of the other cars coming off the turn, but after you get out on the straightaway and get about halfway down, it comes on quite well.
In other words, you'll be doing your passing on that back straightaway.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do say that the car does handle pretty well, and if we can get things working a little bit better, I think we're going to be all right. But it does have its greatest potential about the last half of the straightaway.
Well, that's what Parnelli had to say before the race, and look at him go now. This is an Indianapolis engine in that car, and now here is Denny Holm in the pits. Looks like a little body work where that tire hit. This is Jerry Titus also coming into the pits in Carroll Shelby's King Cobra, racing in the Can-Am Series for the first time today. And very often on that first attempt, you'll have some problems with the car. Out on the race course, the race goes on. There's Hall and that Chaparral going by, and there's Mario Andretti passing Dan Gurney, who's dropping back very fast in the field right now.
Parnelli still. Now let's see how they do together here. Now here they are accelerating, because there goes Parnelli again. Look at him pull away from Bruce McLaren there, leading into turn 1. Boy, that thing really does have some steam there.
It sure does, particularly when you figure the McLaren cars, the one driven by Bruce and the one driven by Dennis Holm, have been much faster than other cars in this series up to today. Jim Hall still very much in the fight, and Mario Andretti, and now here's Holm going back out on the track again. Stopping for traffic there?
Looks like it. Still waiting. Look at, he's missing half the left front corner of the car now. Wait a minute, there's more than that. They've told him that he can't go back out.
Sure looks that way. Holy mackerel, I've never seen this before. Look at him back up through those pits.
That just has to be the speed record for backing up in the pits anywhere.
He's backing up to the chief steward is what he's doing. Dennis Holm is furious. That's the point of this situation. They've told him he can't go back out on the track, apparently because of that fender that they cut away there.
Yeah, there is some kind of a rule that says something about a proportion of... There's Teddy Mayer, the team manager right there, coming up to argue, I guess, for Denny.
And, of course, meanwhile, the race goes on, and he's losing seconds and laps by now. Dennis Hall really upset. There's Chris. I think he's going to have a word with him.
Danny, what has happened, actually? One of the leading cars threw a tire up in the air, and I couldn't avoid it. It just hit the top of the wing and smashed it in.
And this, they've knocked you out of the race because of the fender missing?
Yeah, apparently. But I haven't touched anything. That's what annoys me. It hasn't damaged the car structurally or anything.
I see. Thank you. Denny Holm out of the race.
Okay, Chris, and so Dennis Holm, the new world driving champion, has had it for today, and it looks like Dan Gurney has also had it. Look at that smoke pouring out.
Yeah. More than smoke, it's just oil. Look at it running out there on the track. There's John Surtees, very brave, right behind him. He's sliding, he slid right off the road on Dan's oil, right off out of the dirt.
Boy, he sure did, spinning and sliding through that sand. But now look, he's coming right back on the race course again.
Slid right off on that. There's Dan, parked it now. It looks like Gurney is headed for today.
Dan Gurney, as we said, has had real bad luck in this particular race at Riverside, his hometown, and he's out of it again today. But here's the duel up front. Parnelli Jones in the lead, immediately trailed by Bruce McLaren, and Jim Hall very, very much in the race.
I'm surprised that Jim Hall has been able to keep up as close as he is there right now. In practice, you know, he wasn't that near the... he was a second or so down. It's surprising to see him that close.
Is he slipstreaming right now, do you think?
Well, maybe, possibly, yeah. It's hard to say.
That could help him a little bit, though.
Oh, that could help him quite a bit. I mean, you know, it could be behind the leading cars.
And there goes Bruce McLaren, and there comes Hall challenging Parnelli Jones. A tremendous race here at Riverside. 3 cars battling for the lead.
Well, Parnelli still in there. Gee whiz, I'm really surprised. That car, you know, it was quick, but it didn't appear to be all that quick in practice.
Let's see if he gets that burst coming out of the turn. Didn't look like he quite got it that time, did he? Well, he's moving ahead of Hall again. Bruce McLaren fleeing back into the desert again in first place now, ahead of Nellie Jones and Jim Hall. A great race at Riverside, and we'll be back for more of the action in the Los Angeles Times Grand Prix in just a minute. Again, we're back at the Los Angeles Times Grand Prix, Riverside, California. That's Jim Hall in the Chaparral with that strange-appearing wing on the back in second place behind Bruce McLaren and just ahead of Parnelli Jones in that Indy Ford-powered car. Tremendous race here, Phil.
It sure is surprising that the Indy engine, granted it's been stretched from 4.2 to 5 liters, can keep up with the larger 6 and 7 liter cars.
It sure is, and there was Hall lapping a slower car. That was Ron Herrera in car number 9. The leader is up front, the orange car of Bruce McLaren. And here are the other cars. In fourth place, we have Mario Andretti. Fifth place, Peter Revson. Sixth place, Lothar Mochenbacher. Andretti in that Hunker Ford that has kind of been getting sorted out during the series, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. He seems to be doing pretty good today.
Peter Revson in the white car, number 52, right here, is in fifth position. In sixth place, Mochenbacher. And look out, there's a spin.
Who is that? Number 20 now. That's, let's see, that's Jim Paul.
Jim Paul in car number 29, an old McLaren Chevy car. It looks like he's okay, and the car, as a matter of fact, is still underway. Looks like he's going to go back on the course, in fact.
They can get a way out there. There's so many cars coming. There he goes.
Back in action goes Jim Paul. Now look at the mountains and the sky, and into the pits comes Mario Andretti. Apparently, it's not quite sorted out yet. So.
Oh, boy, he's been having a lot of trouble all weekend.
This is the car that's sponsored, by the way, by actor Paul Newman. It's called the Hunker Ford, and perhaps it's the precursor of a whole team of them to come maybe next year, huh?
Yeah, he seems to be having gear selector problems, so they're all down there looking at the shifter lever and shifter mechanism there.
They've had that before, haven't they?
Yeah, it seems to me this weekend they were having a little bit of trouble earlier with that.
And the way he's driving that slowly, it looks like Mario is going to park that car. Yep, there he goes, behind the pit wall. The Hunker Ford is out of it for the day. And there is Paul Newman. The afternoon over for his car. Out of the track, the race goes on with McLaren. There he goes. The leader is still Bruce McLaren. Second place, Jim Hall. Third place, Parnelli Jones. Fourth place, Peter Revson, and Lothar Mochenbacher and Mark Donohue. And the big news here is the wind. It's gusting up to 55 miles an hour, blowing this sand. It's a regular desert sandstorm, isn't it, Bill?
It really is. The visibility is just downright rotten in lots of places around the circuit. Here comes Parnelli Jones up behind McCuskey. He's giving him a bump there to get by Roger McCuskey.
Well, he sure did, but get by him he does. Look out, on the track, there's been a crash. That's Peter Revson into the infield.
Looks like one of the Ferraris.
It is. It's the Ferrari driven by Jonathan Williams up against the wall. Peter Revson is the car you're looking at right now. He is still underway, and there is Jonathan standing somewhat sedately beside his car, and now moving down into the infield, but he can't get the car out of there, obviously. Revson is underway again and moving towards the pits. Very fortunate crash for the two of them. Could have been trouble if there was any traffic behind them there, couldn't it?
Looks like a wheel hub's broken off in the center there. With luck, they'll be able to change it. If it's bent instead of just broken, well, they'll be in, you know, that'll be the end of Revson for the day.
There is Revson with the grime and the sand of the desert on his goggles and on his face. And up front, I think they've learned from the Dennis Holm incident to tape that fender back on again.
What you mean is they've learned not to cut it off like they did on Denny Holmes' car.
That's right. So that Revson hopefully can get back into action and get some placing in this race. That's the rear view mirror you saw sticking up on those little stilts there, just for better visibility, right?
You have to get it up over the tail there.
Now, looks like they are going to get this car. There he goes. Peter Revson back on the track, but the Ferrari of Jonathan Williams is out of it. And there's another spin. That's Mochenbacher, enabling Mark Donohue to speed by him and move into fourth position. So Donohue has gone from 6th up into 4th in the last 30 or 40 seconds.
We've seen a number of cars spin here at turn 7 today. It's really tricky. There's a pit signal for Jim Hall saying that he's 2 seconds behind McLaren and 6 seconds ahead of Parnelli Jones.
The leader is still Bruce McLaren, immediately followed by Jim Hall with Parnelli Jones in 3rd position. We'll be back in a minute at Riverside.
For Dan Gurney in Riverside sports car races, and the bad break for Dennis Holmes sidelined 2 of the big favorites in the 1967 Times Grand Prix. But the race was kept more than interesting by the battle up front between Bruce McLaren and Jim Hall, and the possibility that Parnelli Jones might pull off a big upset with that little Indianapolis engine. Let's go back to Jim McKay, Phil Hill, and Chris Economaki.
Bruce McLaren of New Zealand continues to lead the Los Angeles Times Grand Prix at Riverside, California. In second place is Jim Hall in the Texas-built Chaparral. In third position at the moment is still Parnelli Jones, and we have Mark Donoghue and Moschenbacher and Mike Spence in sixth position. But this is the way the race has been going, and these two cars up in front are really battling. Here is Jones now in third place. They seem to be stretching it out on him a little bit at this point, Phil.
Yeah, quite a bit. But McLaren and Hall are still running right close together. It's really surprising. With this much time gone, they're still right there together.
And this is Mike Spence, who's doing a very good job in an older car, staying in sixth place. Another spin on the track now. That's George Fulmer in car number 16. He's the teammate of Mark Donoghue, so well in the race right now. Other cars being flagged down, and the official giving them a little bit of help. Getting him back underway again. It looks like Fulmer will be able to continue. Up in front, remember, however, it's still Bruce McLaren, the leader, closely pursued by Jim Hall. Look at Jim Hall. Moving past Bruce McLaren and taking the lead of the race for the first time today.
Boy, he's got him, that's for sure.
Again, the pass taking place between those last two turns where a lot of the action has happened today. Let's see if Hall can hold it.
Boy, he sure is holding it. He's pulling away from Bruce. Look at that.
There's Parnelli Jones still in third place but dropping back, and Mark Donoghue, who is in fourth position in the race. However, it's those first two just that close together. Now they're in traffic, Phil.
Well, here they come in. Look at McLaren there trying to find a way through those three cars in front. There he goes by on the right side. Looks like Moschenbacher. He's not going to make it by. It's Lothar Moschenbacher. There's Jim Hall closing right up behind again. Here they go into turn 8. That turn that tightens up slow. There you see. Now they ought to... All right, there's Hall right up alongside of McLaren. Now got a little bit of a run at him leading turn 8 and went right on by.
So Jim Hall in the Chaparral retakes the lead from Bruce McLaren. A great race here at Riverside in the Los Angeles Times Grand Prix. McLaren going back into the lead again. There's more trouble on the course. That's Chris Amon, who has spun out in the other Ferrari. His teammate had trouble a little bit earlier, Jonathan Williams, and now Amon, way back in ninth place, has spun, but is back in action. And there is John Surtees. Surtees is in the pits and apparently out of it, Phil. Former world champion and winner of this race last year has been having trouble. There's Roger McCluskey in the pits, and here is Chris down with Surtees.
A bad day, John?
Yeah, it's not too good.
What's the trouble with the machinery?
Well, it's overheating a little, but what stopped it is a crown one pinion, I think.
What about the track conditions, John, with the dust? Has it been difficult?
That was rather unpleasant, but the worst conditions I came across was Dan Gurney continued to run while he was pouring oil or petrol out.
Back on the track, there's a real good battle for third place right now. Parnelli Jones, who led the race earlier, has slowed down, and now Mark Donoghue. This is Jones right here. He led the race in the early going. Here is Donoghue, who was way back in 6th and 7th place and is now battling for third. But here is the leader, Bruce McLaren, and look at him go, Phil.
Really beautiful shot of turn 7 there. Here's Jim Hall coming around the same spot.
Incidentally, the difference between first and second place figures to be something like, close to $15,000. So this race is not only for glory, but for money. And we'll be back at Riverside, California in just a minute. Look at Bruce get through there. The Los Angeles Times Grand Prix at Riverside, California. That's Bruce McLaren leading Jim Hall still by the narrowest of margins. The issue still very much in doubt. And there in the third place is Mark Donoghue, who has moved ahead of Parnelli Jones. So it's Donoghue third and Jones fourth. McLaren, the leader, and Hall second. Chris talked to both of these leaders before the race about speed and passing. Here's what they had to say.
Do you have the straightaway speed, Bruce, that some of the other cars have?
Not quite. We're down a little bit on straightaway speed, largely because we're down a little bit on maximum power.
Is that a severe handicap here at Riverside?
With this straight, it's more of a handicap here than anywhere else.
What about passing here at Riverside, Jim? The speeds have gone way up. Has it made it more difficult?
Actually, you can pass pretty easily at Riverside. There's several places to pass, but it costs you, the cars are close enough that even if it costs you half a second to get by somebody, you get upset about it. It's hard to get a half a second.
How will the race be run? Foot to the floor type affair, or can you plot a course and follow it?
Not really. These 200-mile races, we run them flat out all the way, and you're lucky if you get to plot it. You really are.
That was before the race. Right now, the battle still goes on with McLaren leading Hall by that very narrow margin and moving out of traffic now.
Boy, there's very little time left here, Jim, and if Jim Hall is going to get by, he's going to have to do it pretty quick.
He sure is, and there is Lothar Mochenbacher pushing his car into the pits. A tough break for him because he had been running in fifth position in this race. He won't make it now. This car moves into fifth place. That's Mike Spence, who's been driving that steady race all afternoon in this older car, this older McLaren car. But there is Bruce on the final lap, headed for victory. Jim Hall behind him. Great race, huh?
Jim can't make it now, but he has done a wonderful job. He's made this race. He and Bruce both have put on a tremendous show here this afternoon.
Checkered flag is out, and here comes Bruce McLaren waving to his pit crew. There they are in the foreground. Great victory scene. You can still see the checkered flag waving, and jubilation reigns, I think the saying is, Phil.
Boy, they sure look happy, and they ought to be, too.
Here now are the official results of the 10th annual Los Angeles Times Grand Prix at Riverside. The winner, Bruce McLaren, at an average speed of more than 114 miles per hour. His winning total money, more than $23,000. Jim Hall for second place gets almost $9,000. Third place, and a lap behind, was Mark Donohue. In fourth position, Parnelli Jones. And in fifth place, Mike Spence. Those are the official results of the race. A wonderful race, a most exciting one. And look at that happy Bruce McLaren with the traditional wreath of flowers around his neck, being congratulated down here in the pit area. Let's go down to Chris.
Congratulations, Bruce. What a day, huh?
Thank you very much. Yes.
What about the battle with Jim Hall? Was it a surprise when he came by you the first time?
It did surprise me that he was hanging in there so tight. I didn't have very much left, and I didn't want to go absolutely all it would go the whole race, so I thought I'd wait till the last 10 laps and then see what happens.
What about the dust and the conditions on the track? How were they, Bruce?
That was very bad for a while, but I was glad to see someone out there with a watering truck to keep the dust down. That was a big help.
Was there any point on the track where your car had a specific advantage over the others?
Right in the middle of the slow turns, it's a little bit better, but Jim had me beaten on acceleration and almost a little bit beaten on top speed. We were pretty equal.
A great victory, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Over the years, the LA Times Grand Prix saw a lot of different formats. It rarely saw a race better than that one in 1967 that ultimately decided the Can-Am Championship. That encounter with a wayward wheel, in fact, cost Dennis Holm the title. But the disappointment was tempered by the fact that his teammate and car owner, Bruce McLaren, won it. And the Can-Am series, I provided some of our fondest racing memories. I hope you've enjoyed reviewing them here on this edition of the Glory Days. I'm Dave McBain. We'll see you next time.